All right, welcome to Social Thread Podcast. I am Robert Payne, and I'm joined always by.
I am still, after all these episodes, Rob Reinders.
Awesome. And, Social Thread is a nonprofit where you can be a part of a community where you belong and you can thrive and you can explore your faith on your own terms. And today in our episode, we are going to continue to talk about what it means to practice self-compassion. So, Rob, what does it mean to practice self-compassion?
Yeah, so on the last episode, we talked about our self-worth and that feeling of how easy it is that we can feel alone, and how we have to kind of dive in and do some good, hard, self-reflective work. And two, understanding that, Jesus says, God says, hey, you're not alone. You are loved, like no matter what. But even so, I think we are all our own harshest critic. And regardless of what's going on in life or school or work or with our health or our relationships, no matter how good things can be going, that can turn around in a second, because we tell ourselves these stories that the work we're doing isn't good enough, that maybe this will all come crashing down at the end. And that can really add a lot of stress, a lot of extra disconnectedness, and can even lead to despair and to some really rough stuff that goes on eternally. And when we look back to the Bible, to Jesus's teachings again, we see that Jesus brought comfort. He brought healing. He brought hope. He had a lot of times where he was prophetic and telling us some hard truths and whatever. But Jesus said at the end of the day, do not be afraid. In all the chaos and everything that's going on in your life, do not be afraid. Not that there won't be rough times, or not that we won't be challenged, or not that he won't call us to do some hard things and to speak up for those and to stand with those we need to stand with, like the marginalized and the oppressed. But what he said was, take a deep breath, guys. Do not be afraid. I am walking with you on this. So, but it's hard, we can hear those words, but how do we actually internalize them? How do we tap into that presence of God's comfort, of healing, and of hope when we're so uncertain about things, or we're so hard on ourselves? So Robert, I know one of the things you've taught me is when it comes to self-compassion, there's a person and some resources, some books and stuff that have been really influential for you on this topic. So I'll let you kind of dive into that and take it from here.
Yeah, sure. So for me, when I was going through some really tough times, I ran across Tara Brach. And she just has a different perspective than what I was used to, and just some techniques on how to practice self-compassion. And so there's a lot of books and resources that she has that is really worth getting into when you're stuck in a loop like I was stuck in a loop of self-criticism, and I just couldn't get out of it. And and I needed help to get out of that. And so part of that was practicing self-compassion. And one of the things that I had really had a difficult time doing is that during my journey, I would always look back and go, oh man, if I had just done this, the situation now I'm in would be a lot better. But one of the things that I've read through Tara Brach's books is that you have to be able to say, you have to look back and you have to say, I have to have compassion on my young self. And you go, you were young. You didn't know that then. And even if you made that decision back then, there's no guarantee that would happen right now. And so for me, it was, that was just one of many lessons that I took away from Tara Brach. So, anyway, so Rob, Tara talks about this idea of meditation and mindfulness, and she's an expert in this. So she has an acronym that I think is really, really helpful, So Rob, why don't you tell us about RAIN, which is the acronym for identifying and understanding and responding to your own feelings of failure and anxiety and low self-worth.
Yeah. I love how you say all those words with a smile on your face. Tell me
It's
about those
because
feelings.
those are hard lessons to
They
know.
are. They are. You know what I love about the acronym is that it's not just a great acronym and easy to remember, RAIN, but it makes you envision like calmness and the steady sound of rain. On a nice rainy day when you're sitting there with the window open and just listening to that rain hit the ground or the roof or whatever. It just calms you thinking about it. But the acronym does have meaning beyond that. The R stands for recognize what's going on. The A stands for allow the experience to be there just as it is. The I is investigate with interest and care. And the N is nurture with self-compassion. And the whole idea behind this, and you can correct me if I get off base here, but is really to not, we're so quick again to judge ourselves and to judge our thoughts and be critical of them and beat ourselves up right away. And what Rain says is like, no, when we get to that point, you can sort of institute a trigger in your brain that says, you know what, I'm going to stop. There's some anxiety, there's something building up in me. And I need to just stop and take a few deep breaths and again, recognize something's happening and then just let it happen. Don't try to respond to it. Don't try to fix it. That's what I am. I think I've talked about this before in a future episode. I'm a fixer and I'm like, I have to immediately get rid of this feeling at any cost right now. Must avoid it. I must
Right.
run away, bury it deep
Yeah.
inside and run away. She says, no,
Yeah.
just let it be there.
Right.
And then start digging in. Again, non-judgmentally, you're almost like an investigator, a fact finder. Just start digging into those feelings and ask, wait, why is this happening? How is it happening? What events led up to this? Why am I responding in this way? And again, you're being gentle with yourself while doing that. And what she says, you can have some very, very powerful insights. And then that final thing, nurture with self-compassion, of just like you said, of telling yourself like, hey, you didn't know any better, you did the best you could. And you know what, you'll try harder next time.
Yeah,
You'll
for
do this
sure.
differently next time. But the worst thing you could do is to beat yourself up about it. Did I
Yeah.
get it? Did I
Yeah,
nail
you
it?
got it. That's it,
Yeah,
man.
baby.
That's it.
It's so
That's it.
powerful. It's
It
just
is.
it's so
It is.
powerful.
Yeah, it is. Well, so are you, so coming out of that, how would you say that you're on a daily basis practicing self-compassion?
Yeah, so I come back to what's great about that is to me that whole rain concept is so similar to the Christian concept of grace. And in the Wesleyan tradition, I'm a United Methodist, and so we're big on John Wesley. And he talked a lot about what's called prevenient grace, but that idea of like God's love and forgiveness and presence is like always there, and there's absolutely nothing we have to do to earn it. We don't even deserve it. But but thinking about like there's this force, there's this presence, there's this power, sort of surrounding me of like, oh man, I'm beating up myself, but this higher power, this concept of God that I have is saying, why are you beating yourself up? I'm not even beating up on you. Like, rest in that presence. So I always try to tell myself, okay, rest, lean
Yeah.
back into that grace. When I'm having those moments of self judgment and beating up on myself. So that's it's a lot harder than it sounds, but that's what I try to do.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I kind of run through a little bit of a checklist. If I'm feeling down in a particular way or got some anxiety about something, I often look to to this checklist that I kind of run through really quick. So, if I have a lot of depression or I'm going through something, then I say, hey, I ask myself, hey, am I getting enough rest? Am I eating enough? Am I getting enough exercise? And setting appropriate boundaries. And for that, that quick checklist really helps kind of moor me a little bit to say, okay, can I say, okay, it really isn't me. I'm not really a terrible person. I'm just not getting enough rest, and I'm really feeling this particular way. And it helps me get some perspective really, really quickly, and to go, oh, okay, it's probably because I didn't sleep well last night, or I need to get outside of the house, more. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, well, cool, man. I think that I think that for our listeners, if you have run across this podcast for the first time, or maybe you've been listening to this podcast and going, man, I really could use some help, and to be a part of a community to help me walk through some of these things. Maybe you're experiencing, you have no self-compassion. You're like, man, I could really, really use some of that. I could really have some people to go through that with me, and helps trends in your life. So that's what Social Thread is all about. You can go to socialthread.org, and you can click Get Involved. And if you're here and local, then we can get you involved in a group, or we're going to maybe you can get online with us too. Whatever best suits your needs, we're here to help. If you're listening to this podcast and really want to jump in and support what we're doing, you can make a tax-deductible donation. Go to socialthread.org/support and get involved that way. So, hey, Rob, great podcast. Looking forward to the next one.
As always, and take care, everybody.